The Aperion Audio Energy 7-channel amplifier is a powerhouse, and in this video, I'm going to unbox this thing, get it all set up, and then talk about my general first impressions. So as we get started here, I do want to thank Aperion Audio for sending out the 7-channel Energy amp to me for review. This is not a sponsored video though. They didn't pay me anything. They have no idea what I'm going to say in this video, but I just wanted to make that clear. Now, this thing does come very, very well packed. We got a nice double box, ample padding, so unless someone's throwing this thing off the back of a truck onto a piece of concrete or a driveway, yeah, this thing should make it to its destination just fine.
Whoa.
Now, it may be kind of hard to see from this or tell from this, but the amplifier weighs about 70 pounds, so it's a hefty guy. It does come with a 12-volt trigger cable and a power cable, and Aperion Audio was nice enough to send over 7 of their shortest RCA interconnect cables for connecting this thing to my receiver. Speaking of receiver, I will be connecting the amplifier to my Denon X6300H. Now, this is a 5-year-old receiver or so, still performs super well, and it does have pre-outs. So while this isn't a tutorial or setup guide, you will need a receiver or processor with pre-outs. And basically the way that's going to work is I'm going to hook up the RCA cables from my receiver pre-outs to the RCA inputs on the Aperion Audio amplifier. And then I will also connect the 12-volt trigger cable. And that 12-volt trigger cable is important. So if you've never used a separate amplifier before, it's basically a way for your receiver to talk to your amplifier. So when you turn on your receiver, it will also turn on your amp, and you don't have to turn things on individually. So now with everything installed and set up, which required a complete reworking of the front soundstage, I might add, it was time to kind of get to listening. And here's where I want to give you my general first impressions. Now, I do want to note I am powering my 7 bed layer speakers. So my front, left, center, and right, my side and back surrounds, all on the Aperion Audio Energy 7 amp. That means that my 4 height channels, which are the Aperion Audio Clear 6Es, are powered off of my Denon X6300H. I have no separate amp for those. I was running my Pioneer Andrew Jones off of the Aperion amp. I really wanted to run my Pioneers first off of this before I installed Theatrus or other speakers, because I'm very familiar with how the Pioneers sound. I've had those for quite a while, so I know kind of their sound signature. I know what they sound like on my Denon X6300H. I didn't really know what to expect. You know, you hear like placebo effects thrown around when someone's like, it sounds better with an amp. What I noticed was immediately the dynamics seemed different, better. There was more distinction between notes and elements within the speaker, even at lower volumes. And I kind of attribute that to, one, the Pioneer Andrew Jones speakers being super power hungry. They are 6 ohm speakers and they're very not sensitive. I think they're around the 85, 86 dB sensitivity range. So they're much harder to get loud than something like the Theatrus speakers. And so when you're running those off of an internal amp in like a receiver, things can get a little iffy if you start cranking the volume up. Now, I like to watch movies at around -10 dB. If I'm watching something on streaming or like Netflix or Disney Plus is kind of a huge culprit of this, I typically have to bring the volume up like 5 dB more. I was playing back like the fan favorite demos, you know, Ready Player One, Fury, Mad Max Fury Road, A Quiet Place, Godzilla, King of the Monsters, kind of all the stuff that I keep going to. Dune, the first Dune and the second Dune, certain scenes from there. And everything just sounded fuller, like more lively with, and this is the most important thing that I noticed of everything. Yes, the increase in dynamics was noticeable as I turned it up more and more beforehand, before I added the amplifier. Things started to kind of sound strained when I got to around -7 dB. So there's one particular demo you guys may be familiar with, which is the shotgun shootout scene in John Wick Chapter 3. The dynamics in that scene, they got really loud gunshots, but there's detail in the quieter moments. It is a very loud sequence. And so I always like to play it back loud. I want to feel those gunshots in my chest. And so beforehand, running just off of the Denon X6300H, I could crank it up and it sounded good. but I was really lacking a lot of that oomph in the mid-range and the higher end. But there was also a slight resonance, or almost, I don't want to say muffling, because that's not the right word. There's not a whole lot of brilliance in the highs running off the Denon when I really started cranking it. Now, the Pioneer Andrew Jones are soft dome tweeters, so they're not gonna have kind of those crisp, brilliant highs that something like a Klipsch or something like even like an AMT or a ribbon tweeter would have. Playing back that same scene using the Aperion Audio Amplifier was kind of striking. I honestly wasn't prepared for it. Everything was clear and distinct and tight. There was brilliance now in the highs and in the mid-range that I just didn't get before, because quite frankly, what was happening is the amplifier and the Denon was just running out of juice. Didn't have enough to really push the speakers to that volume level. I looked at the Denon X6300H, and just 2 channels driven, I think it was rated at 140 watts. Now, obviously I was driving 11 channels, so you're not gonna get 140 watts out of that. And I know that Denon has like their guarantee, but when you're driving 11 channels, I'm not sure really what you're getting. You're definitely not getting 140 watts. Whereas the Energy 7 amp is providing at 6 ohms, I believe, I did the calculation, it's 220 watts per channel, which explains the additional headroom, being able to turn stuff up. It really goes to show that a quality amplifier driving even an entry-level speaker can elevate that speaker into something that you may not expect. I think a $2,200 amplifier on entry-level speakers that are like $100 a pair or 180 bucks for like a floor standard, it's kind of not where that's not where I would shift the money to if I was trying to figure that out. I don't have experience with other amplifiers, so keep that in mind. The build quality, it's very robust. It feels like, I mean, it's 70 pounds. Like, I don't know if you could tell from me moving it around. It's hard to even slide it around on the floor. When I picked up the box, I was like, holy shit, this is heavy. That to me screams quality components. Input, output connectivity, perfectly fine. I like that you have the physical flip switches on the XLR and RCA, so you can select between each one. You don't have to rely on like auto switching, which can sometimes cause some issues. The only nitpick I have aesthetically about it is the light on the front of the unit. I have not found a way to disable that completely. So I have the amp in the front of the room, and when it's dark, when all the lights are off, even with the logo, it dims very, very slightly. It still kind of lights up the bottom of the room. And so I've just kind of put gaff tape over it to kind of block that out. That's kind of like my biggest nitpick, is like for people that have a system in the front of the room and they have the amp there and they maybe want to turn off all the lights. I haven't found an option. It may be in there. I need to reach out to Colin to see if there's a way to do that. But overall, I'm super impressed. This is my first foray into this. I am excited to kind of use it more. I feel like my system definitely isn't lacking in the power department anymore, which is great. I am, like I said, currently running the Theatrus speakers. I will have unboxings of all of them that I have received very soon. I've filmed them, I've set them up. That's the Theatrus T65s, the Theatrus T65 Slims, the Theatrus TC65 is kind of like their angled bookshelf speakers that you can use as either side and back surrounds or even like height channels. I am working on getting their brand new just launched Theatrus 6.5-inch in-ceiling height channel speakers. Colin reached out from Aperion and asked if I would like to be the first one to get those in and check those out. So I'm like, yes, let's go, man, let's do it. So I'm excited about that. So stay tuned to the channel. Thank you guys. I am working on the tutorials now for the Mini DSP as well as Multi-QX. So keep an eye out for those. And I just want to thank you guys for sticking around. I know that sometimes I don't post as much as I used to. I'm kind of getting back into that swing, trying to have a goal of bi-weekly uploads. Or not bi-weekly, I'm sorry, 2 times a week uploads for 2025. So if you enjoyed this video at all, feel free to leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you think. If you've switched to external amplification at some point in your home theater career, home theater hobby, I guess, let me know, what was your experience? Because I want to know too. I want to know if my experience mimics yours or if you had a different experience, because everybody has different experiences. Thank you guys so much. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to hit that like button. Also subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and I will catch you guys in the next video.